All right, what is going on, everybody? In today's video, we're going to talk about one of the most important topics in land flipping, which is, do you need a license to flip land? All right, now this is a very controversial topic, but it's important that we kind of clear the smoke and talk about what's actually going on, okay? Now, in short, you don't need one, okay? In long, it's a little more complicated than that, so let me explain, all right? This is probably the biggest question that I get from beginners or just people who are thinking about flipping land, all right? Again, the short answer is you don't need a license. Okay, in this video, what I'm going to do is explain exactly why you don't need a license. Okay, even if you're flipping land, doing double closes, or you're signing contracts or doing any of these, creative strategies. Okay, specifically what I'm going to break down is why land flipping is different from being a real estate agent and doing a normal transaction, how we legally flip land without having a license, how double closes keep us 100% compliant, okay, and why finding the right realtor is crucial for the strategy. All right, so let's dive into it. Okay, so here's why you don't need a license first and foremost, all right? A real estate agent needs a license because what they're doing is they're representing a buyer or a seller for a commission, okay? What their job is to market other people's properties, and they facilitate the transaction between the two parties, okay? As land flippers, we don't work for the buyers and sellers. That's the key difference, okay? Instead, we own the land, or we own the contract, right? Before selling it for a profit. Okay, so we're not going to the seller and saying, hey, I'm going to represent you. That's not how it works. That's what an agent does. What we're saying is, we're going to buy this from you. That's the difference. Okay, the huge difference is a real estate agent is essentially a middleman who just earns a commission. Okay, a land flipper is an investor who buys it low, sells it high, just like a house flipper does, right? Since we're acting as the principal, okay, meaning we own the property when we sell it. Okay, we don't need a license to do this. All right, the same rules apply whether you're buying land for cash, whether you're financing it, or even if you're doing a double close or you're signing a contract, i.e. a wholesale deal, okay? Let's explain double closing and how it keeps us 100% legal and how we do this by the books, okay? This is so important. Before I go into this, I want to briefly explain what it is. I've talked in some other videos. I use this term, double closing and wholesaling, kind of side by side because they're pretty similar. Technically, they're slightly different, so let me explain it a bit more, okay? What double closing is essentially we get someone's land under contract, okay? We have the right to market their property, but we don't market, a realtor does. Now, this is the key, is because at the time of us purchasing it, we're actually buying it directly from that person. We don't need a license to market it, okay? That's the difference, right? Because again, we have the realtor do it. Now, we're not essentially assigning a contract like a wholesale deal. Typically, wholesaling is assigning a contract, meaning let's say I get under contract with a seller. Okay, I'm under contract for $10,000. And then I find an end buyer, maybe a builder or something, and they say, hey, I'll pay you $15,000 for that. Well, all I do is I assign the contract I already have signed over plus an assignment fee. Okay, that's not what we're doing. Instead, what we're doing is we're saying, okay, we're under contract with the buyer. We're going to buy this. I then go find the same guy. Maybe it's a builder, whoever. I'm just giving an example. And he says, okay, I'll buy it for $15,000. And then I get under contract with him to sell the property. And then I buy the property and then I sell it to him on the same day. Okay, so we own it for a split second. That's the difference between double closing and wholesaling. Is like with wholesaling, you never actually own it. You just sign the contract. With double closing, you do own it, just a short period of time. Okay, that's the big difference. All right, now people still ask though, okay, if I never technically hold the land for long, do I need a license to do this? No, you don't. Here's why. Okay, a double close means that we're buying and selling the same day, right? We find a great land deal. We put it under contract with the seller. We find the buyer who wants to purchase land at a higher price. We close on the purchase first, okay? Meaning we officially own the land, even if it's for a few minutes. That's how it happens, okay? And then we immediately sell it to the end buyer. Because we're taking ownership, okay, even if it's just for a few minutes, we are legally selling our own land, okay? And we use realtors to do this process for us, okay? That keeps us above the board and clean, all right? Now, this was important. We're not advertising someone else's land for sale because remember, at the time of us purchasing it, we own it. That's the difference, okay? Next, we're not acting as a middleman collecting commission. We're not getting a commission on this like a realtor would. We are literally buying it and then selling it just back to back, okay? And we're the actual owner at the time of the sale, well, as I just described. So there's no license required, all right? Now, this is probably the most important thing you're gonna get in this video. You can't just go to any realtor and be like, hey, can you do this? A lot of realtors won't do it, right? One, because they don't understand it. Two, they're like, oh, like they don't know how to do it. You never want to work with a realtor who hasn't done a double close if you're going to do a double close, okay? If you're going to do a regular flip where you buy the property and then, you own it and then you just put it back on the market, you can get any basic land realtor to do that. But for a double close, you need the right people, okay? Which is why the people in our network, we've already vetted them, work with them, make sure that way our clients are using realtors who actually know how to do this, okay? Now, When it comes to finding the right realtor, what you're looking for is someone who, number one, is investor friendly. Okay, so they've worked with investors before. Okay, number two, they've done double closes, right? When you're talking to a realtor, you should ask them questions. Hey, have you worked with investors before? How many? Have you ever done a double close? How'd it go, right? Can you do it, right? If they're telling you things like, oh, I don't know, I need to go ask my broker, or I'm not sure, or they don't sound certain, don't work with them on, at least on this project, okay? Maybe you could do a regular deal with them, but what you're looking for is a realtor who has experience, who says, oh yeah, 100% I can do that. Yeah, I've done it a ton. Like, they got to know what to do. Because the problem is, if you work with a realtor who doesn't know what they're doing, they'll mess the deal up. Like, they'll be the one to mess it up, right? Usually what ends up happening is like they get their broker involved and their broker doesn't understand it, and then they're like, oh, actually, we need to sign a contract with the seller. It's like, nope, that's not how it works. And so again, you just want to work with someone who has experience doing this. Okay. Now, if you get stuck with the wrong agent here, then you're kind of shit out of luck, right? That's why you need to, on the front end, make sure they've done these types of transactions before. Okay. Brief overview, how to find the right realtor. We've talked about this before. You can go to Zillow, Redfin, Realtor.com. You can also go to land-specific sites like a Land Watch, something like that. Look for people who have sold a lot of land. Okay, so the people who have sold the most amount of listings look good. Reach out to them, okay? Talk to them. Let them know you're an investor. This is what you do. Ask what they've done. Hey, have you worked with investors? How'd it go? Do you have a good relationship with them? Okay, have you done double closes? And if they have, great, then you can work with them. But if they're not investor friendly, and not every realtor, like I said, just move on, okay? Now, here's some common misconceptions about licensing and land flipping, okay? Number one, people say flipping land is legal without a license. No, it's not, okay? As long as you own the land with a contract, which is what we do, you don't need a license to sell it, okay? Number two, you need a license to wholesale land. No, you don't, okay? Wholesale land works just like wholesaling houses. You're signing a contract, not acting as an agent, okay? Another one is if I double close, I sell a license. Wrong, okay? Since we're taking ownership, even if it's just for a few minutes, okay? We are selling our own land, which doesn't require a license. Again, at the time that we sell the land to that other party, we technically own it. That's the difference, guys, okay? And then again, in our contracts with the seller, we get permission to market it on the MLS, okay? So because we have that permission, and then because we legally own it at the time of the sale, we are allowed to do this without a license, okay? Again, we use licensed realtor anyway, so that just takes care of it, but that's important. Another one is if I use a realtor, I have to be licensed too. No, that doesn't make sense, right? Not at all, okay? Realtors represent buyers and sellers, okay? But as a landowner, you don't need a license to sell your own property, right? Again, we're selling our own property at this point. Right? Bottom line is you do not need a license to flip land. What you need is the right strategy, the right team members. Okay, by team members, I mean the right realtors to work with. It's so important. And as a little side note, I'm going to give you a bit more. Once you find an area where you're getting deals, things are going well, you want to keep investing to that area, right? Because once you have a title company you like and you got a realtor you like, it's so much easier to just get more deals in that market and just send them more deals with people that you already trust, that you've worked with, instead of every time you find a new market, now you got to find new realtors. Right? Which can take a lot of time. In some markets, they don't have a ton of good realtors, right? So when you find a good one, you want to hold on to them, okay? So in summary, you now know what you need to do to flip land and that you don't need a license to do this, even if you're double closing, wholesaling, okay? But remember, the key is to find the right realtor. That is what's going to make all the difference on this.